Alrighty, guys, I've got this is a fun video. It's a fun topic that I have for you today. We're going to talk about gun control, everybody's favorite topic. And the reason we're talking about this topic is because there's been some stuff in the media recently. I don't know why it's hitting right now. The article that I pulled up is from December of 2022. But for some reason, locally, a lot of local newspapers and whatever, the media has been running this story again. So I'm going to cover it now, but with a twist. Many of you may or may not know that the city of Columbus recently passed, recently meaning several months ago, some new common sense gun control laws. One of these common sense gun reforms that they've passed is a ban on large capacity magazines, or any, I guess, gun magazine that is capable of holding 30 rounds or more. The city council is telling people either sell your magazines, transport them out of the city, or turn them over to the police department, which is kind of funny. But regardless of that, there is a local gun store, at least local in the city of Columbus, that I found, and it's called LEPD Firearms and Range. This is a gun store with a indoor range that is located on Bethel Road in Columbus, Ohio. It is run by former and current law enforcement officers. And when they heard about this 30 round magazine ban, they got their brains thinking. What did their brains come up with when they started thinking about this stuff? This item that you're looking at right here is called a 29er. What this is something that you can install onto your 30 round magazine. If you have PMags made by Magpul, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't bought magazines in a very long time. I have plenty of them and I don't need more. But this is something that you can install onto your 30 round magazine that takes it from being a 30 round magazine to a 29 round magazine. So just by subtracting one round from your magazine, you are now compliant with the new law in Columbus, Ohio. Here is what it looks like. Here is how it is installed. When I heard about this, I should pull up my Instagram. I heard it from one of my friends on Instagram. He commented on my post about this 30 round magazine ban. And when I made the post, I said, the Fourth Amendment has entered the chat, because people are worried that police officers are going to come start just taking 30 round mags from people. You have to remember that the Fourth Amendment still protects you. Police officers are not going to be just coming into your house searching for 30 round magazines. I'm going to leave it at that. But when I heard about this, because one of my good friends that I was in the Army with commented on my post, said that LEPD Firearms and Range is doing this 29er device, whatever, which I thought was hilarious. I happen to know the owner, Eric, of, one of the owners of the range. So I sent him a text and I said, hey, I would like to come by and interview you about your 29ers, which he said, why don't you come by at 10:30? That is exactly what I did. I took two cameras with me. One was a GoPro that I handheld, and the other was a camera that I put on a tripod. I wasn't sure what the audio quality would be best on, which camera I would like the audio quality of best. I'm sorry, I just got in working out and my brain is a little bit fried at the moment. But I think we're going to use the tripod mounted camera, which doesn't have the best audio. But unfortunately, when I was holding the GoPro, I moved around too much and it was like shaky cam. So if you get the shaky cam video, I'm not sure which one I'm going to splice on. I'm going to watch them both again now. If you get the shaky cam video, you'll know that that was my GoPro. That's going to have slightly better audio when I ask questions. If you get the steady cam, I am going to be a little bit more quiet, but you can hear Eric talking really well. There is a little bit of background noise, but once you get used to it, I didn't find it too distracting. But regardless of that, LEPD Firearms and Range, let me get out of here and show their webpage. If you go to these guys, you can call them up or you can send them an email, which the email, he actually lists the email when we're doing the interview. You can find out how to get one of these 29ers if you live in the city of Columbus and you're worried that you are now going to be classified as a criminal because you own these dangerous magazines that are capable of holding 30 rounds. You can convert those 30-round magazines into 29-round magazines thanks to these folks over at LEPD Firearms and Range. With that being said, I'm going to get out of the way, let you see the video. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.
Not going to have any effect.
So, with this ban on 30-round magazines going into effect, what have you guys done as a shop to kind of help the citizens who are concerned about this kind of thing?
We've actually done two things. Early on, we came out and said there are some people within the city of Columbus who are legitimately concerned. There are people who maybe weren't gun people, and they know they have magazines over 30 rounds, and they're genuinely concerned. They don't want to break the law, and they want to be in compliance. So we've offered one solution is to, in the meantime, while this law is in effect, they can drop off those 30-round mags at our place. We will put your name on it, we'll stick it in a box, and when this passes over, which we firmly believe it will because it goes against directly the preemption laws in Ohio, then you can come pick up your mags and get them back. The other thing we've done, we've kind of tipped our hat to the leaders in the city because they are the self-appointed experts at this, not us who own the gun stores or who are on the streets. And so because they've determined that 30 rounds is bad, we took the stance that within 29 must be okay. So we had a company manufacture what we call the 29er insert that can be easily inserted into a common magazine, 30-round magazine, and it will limit the number of rounds that can be put into that magazine to 29, therefore making it legal in the city of Columbus.
Sounds like a perfect solution to me.
It is a perfect solution. You do have to permanently affix the base plate to be in compliance with the law, to permanently make sure the magazine is in a position where it can't be converted back. But it was intent to be a tongue-in-cheek in that we all know that having 29 rounds versus 30 rounds makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. But we're going to go ahead and be in compliant and give our customers a solution if they want to be in compliant to be a 29er.
So that's a service that you guys offer. Do you permanently affix the bottom plate to the P?
We haven't. It's something we're considering. Right now we're selling the plug itself. We're advising people to what we think. Ultimately, there's no case law out there on what permanently affixed means. So we're talking with some attorneys to see if we can advise people on that. Our thought at the moment is by either some type of a permanent super glue to keep that base plate on. There is some devices out there that will actually put a pin in that to keep it permanently affixed to it. So I'm sure there's a couple different ways that people can do, but we wanted to at least get the product out there to help people in the meantime.
One of the other major concerns of citizens when they hear about this ban on personal property and stuff like that is if you're a citizen that lives in the city of Columbus and you have a bunch of 30-round mags because you were in the military, and when you got out of the military you continued playing with your firearms and doing some sporting and enjoying yourself, you now are in possession of these. What concern should they have if these are they're safe in their basement, that police officers are going to start knocking on their door asking for their magazines?
Right. I personally don't think they're going to start knocking on the door per se, but where it really comes into play is if you have a firearm that has a 30-round or above magazine and you keep it for home defense, and if something were to happen and you needed to use that firearm in the course of defending yourself, you potentially could have turned yourself into a criminal if during that investigation it's determined that you've had a 30-round or above magazine, which is something that many people might not even think about. I mean, part of our concern with this, there's so many of these out there held by lawful gun owners. It's really a standard round magazine. It's not a high capacity, and many people wouldn't even realize that they're not in compliance with the law. That's why the preemption law in Ohio is so important. We need to have that in place, which basically says no municipality or city can put a law into place concerning firearms that preempts Ohio law. And the reasoning behind that is exactly what we're seeing. If we allow a patchwork of laws to be put into place, so something is different in Westerville versus Dublin versus the city of Columbus, you have no idea, being a lawful gun owner, on how to even comply with these laws as you're passing through.
And that's something I think a lot of people watching aren't going to be familiar with. This law was passed in Ohio when?
It was approximately 16 years ago.
Okay.
And it's been upheld by the Supreme
Court more recently.
I think it was refreshed recently, but it's been upheld by the Ohio Supreme Court at least 3 separate times.
And it's a law basically stating local cities and municipalities don't have the authority to overwrite this Second Amendment law, or the protection of the Second Amendment,
right,
per Ohio Revised Code.
Right, and it's the right thing to do. There's no way, if you're driving from Cleveland to Cincinnati for legal purposes and you happen to have a 30-round mag, that if you get stopped in the Columbus city limits, that you should pick up a charge for this, merely passing through some municipality who's decided to put whatever on the books that you as a lawful gun owner would have no idea. We need to have that at the state level to make it something that that you can be in compliance at all times, but just by merely knowing the Ohio law.
Just some consistency across the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are people able to order that part online?
As of right now, you have to send us an email. If you're not in the Central Ohio area, you can certainly stop by the store on Bethel Road, and we have an email at sales@lepd.com. You can do that, and we can ship them out as well. We're also shipping out the t-shirts too. If you want to be a 29er, kind of a little tongue-in-cheek, we're having a little fun with that. But it is something that is, at the end of the day, very serious. I mean, this is something we need to stand up for, because it puts lawful people in the position of being a criminal, and with what we're seeing on the streets today, that's the last thing we want to do. We need to go after the criminal element on the streets, not the lawful gun owners.
Well, one thing I find curious too, because you mentioned, what degree of misdemeanor is this? Is it first, second, or third?
I believe it's an M1.
It's an M1, so it's a first degree misdemeanor, which is punishable up to 1 year in jail. But you said it has a mandatory minimum of 180 days in jail.
I believe it's a mandatory minimum with no work release, specifically stated in there.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't do that for the bad guys.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, what about people who are caught in possession of a firearm while being weapons under disability? Convicted felon, has shot somebody in the past, been released from prison, is caught with guns and dope on him on the street. What are we seeing in the courts for those kind of people? We're not seeing 6 months in jail.
We're not. We're seeing everything pled down. We're seeing these guys back out at the same day. Heck, right here in Franklin County, we saw a murder suspect at one of the prominent malls murder someone on tape, point blank range, and he was out within 24 hours. He was at home in his own bed within 24 hours.
Well, there was also a man who killed 2 people a couple days ago in Columbus. He was on probation for, I believe it was narcotics charges. He was recently arrested on a weapons charge, released, and within 6 days, he murdered 2 people. They're looking at holding someone in jail longer simply for possessing a 30-round magazine than they are for holding this guy who has a long, extensive violent history.
Right, and we don't understand that. I mean, we've asked the prosecutor's office, we've asked city council to explain themselves. I honestly don't think that they have an answer. I mean, this ban is strictly emotion-based. It's not based on any factual information whatsoever, and it just throws a blanket net over so many law-abiding citizens, whereas it could have been structured in such a way, if they were adamant about it, to focus on the criminal element, which we all want to see impacted.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You guys haven't reached out to any judges, have you? Franklin County judges about
We
this?
have not.
I don't know if they would say anything until they've actually heard a case.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see how, with the way things are dismissed in this county and pled down, how these cases would be held, and whether it's an exercise in futility to even try to enforce this law.
Right. I mean, our take with the current administration in the city of Columbus, they seem to want to go after law enforcement officers and legal gun owners. So I'm concerned that they would make an example out of somebody who is merely caught up in this law and in possession of it. That's our concern, because it seems to be from their past actions that is something that they want to do. They want to be able to hold up a legal gun owner or hold up a police officer and say, we're going to charge them with this, in this case, this ridiculous ordinance on the books.
Well, it'll be interesting.
It certainly will.
In the meantime, you're providing the community a tremendous service. by offering magazines that are only capable of holding 29 rounds, which makes them 100% in compliance with this new city ordinance. So I would say if people have PMags and they want to make sure that they're in compliance, they should stop on down at LEPD Firearms and Range on Bethel Road.
Absolutely. We will be here.
All right, man. Thanks for your time.
All right. Thanks.